Okay, let's start here again. So my name is Ankit Mishra. I'm a nuclear cum energy scientist. So I'm going to be mostly discussing about the Hofars Internship Program, which is basically the flagship program of Hofars Energy, right? Uh, so we are basically into four verticals. So this is IT, energy, CX, and HR. So we basically started with what is called as energy because we started taking in some projects from the universities, mostly from the US universities, wherein we started working on carbon abatement, some technologies which actually produces less carbon per kilowatt hour or per megawatt of hour of generation. So that we wanted to make this earth a good or sustainable place to actually live in. Uh, the main aim was basically to go with what is called as SDGs of the UN, that is the Sustainable Development Goals. So how it all started? Initially, we started a company called as Rayfield, which has its office in Russia. So we started with importing tea from India to Russia. So that was our first venture. But then we went on for setting up a gamma irradiator, so cobalt 60 based gamma irradiator for food stuff plus medical equipment sterilization. So this is a specific or a special kind of product or a factory wherein you put in materials which are namely number one medical equipment and number two they are food stuff. So you know that if in order to use something for an operation theater you have to basically sterilize a syringe or any other equipment, right? So that's one way of doing it, that is boiling it in the water for around many hours before actually using it in the OT. The second thing would be to actually pack it in a plastic bag and then irradiate it using a gamma irradiator. So the gamma irradiator is gonna send gamma rays through the plastic packet, and if there are some germs or anything like a bacteria or anything, that's going to get killed through a chemical process like the formation of peroxide or something like that, because that's dangerous. And also formation of nascent oxygen, which is like very dangerous because it tries to oxidize, right? Because nascent oxygen is very unstable in nature. After that, I left that venture. I started something called as Geo Waters. So Waters is a company, so it's Geo Water basically. So this shouldn't be there. So this company basically started selling products like, so we were into setting up of water ATMs across India. So we had set around 40 water ATMs. We were also into manufacturing and supply of filters for the water ATM machines. We also built a very robust IoT based system which could basically detect if a filter has actually reached the end of its life. And before that could actually happen, the IoT based system would raise a ticket to the service engineer so that person can go and start operating on that water ATM. So that's how the whole scenario worked in this case. Uh, Very slowly we went on for what is called as a company called Verifact. So this Verifact is basically an idea. So we wanted to design something which is like a single platform, a web-based platform wherein everything could be verified, starting from the land records to a person's character to like everything. The digital record verification was also a part of this thing. So this could have been used for individual purposes and could have also been used for what is called as corporate affairs. Like for example, if there are a team of 100 people joining in a company and that company would like someone to actually go for a background verification on them, like it could be in form of what do we say, like for example, uh, the highest educational qualification or probably the last employment records or so, we would do that. So the person would just have to upload what is called as uh, the name and the email addresses of all those people, and then and then once it's in the system, our system would all take care of it, right? So that's how the whole system would work. Hofers is a relatively new venture which we tried to start in the year 2020, but then due to this COVID outbreak, it just died off. So because I was working with one of the corporations, Big Four, so I left the job and then I actually went on for starting this once again. I met Anu. So so basically I had to leave my job and then start off with this thing. So this is basically an amalgamation of what is called as GeoWaters and Verifact. So Verifact being an idea and then GeoWater being an actual company which was working on ground. So that's how the journey has been. Thereafter, right now we have around 8 to 9 employees. So 2 more employees are actually joining today itself, right? So they are also in the induction. All right. So here is the story. So it all started with two people from very diverse backgrounds coming in together, like diverse industries. I mean to say, like I was a scientist, a nuclear guy who was working and who actually believed that continuous innovation, research, and development of new systems and processes can actually bring down the entropy of the system. That would actually resolve most of the issues like conflict over water, resources, energy, and all those things, right? And give way to what is called as sustainable development. There was exactly the a guy who had exactly the opposite thought. Like he thought that probably social practices, good training, ethical, moral values, conduct of how people actually talk to each other, understanding among the masses, and all those things could actually lead to what is called as good resource utilization, and hence that would actually bring down the entropy of the system again, the very same way. But then none of these things could have actually acted as a standalone system. So the best thing to do was to actually combine in both the skills and to go on for a single platform. That's how uh, Hofars was born, right? So that's the story. So as I was mentioning, energy sector was the prime sector for us. Basically, we started taking projects in the energy sector, but then very soon we realized that most of the projects, as far as the energy is concerned, would have to do with what is called as Reliance Power, Adani Group, ISO New England, and all those. So big companies, right? And we had a very small staff to actually back any such issues. So for that, and simultaneously we also had what is called as human resource and IT department. So all these two departments basically were subdivisions of the energy sector. So human resource, as far as the energy sector is concerned, and as far as the space and nuclear industry is concerned, it's very specific because these are highly regulated markets. What I mean to say is that there are some certificate of competence, there are some other issues that has to be taken care of before you put in people into the nuclear industry or into the space industry. For the space industry, suppose you want to become what is called as a space engineer or an astronaut, again the human resource field would be completely different from what it is for normal IT companies. So human resource and IT had to grow hand in hand with the energy sector. But then we realized that most of the projects which we can do get right now for self sustenance right now would actually have to do with the other IT companies. So these two verticals basically enlarged, and then we have to actually make these as some of the verticals, at the end what we had is like four verticals. So the first one being information technology, energy, human resource, and then we had what is called as customer excellence. So this customer excellence is something to do with the look and feel of every system, right? So what I mean by saying that, if you look at an iPhone, or if you look at something from the Apple company, it naturally looks beautiful, right? And that the reason is that they have put lots and lots of effort in the customer excellence or the user experience for the software or for the hardware. So even if you hold an iPhone in your hand, it feels better than if you hold some other phone in your hand, right? So that's because they're putting in efforts in that. So that's the reason we put in this consumer or customer excellence as one of the verticals. There is another very nice person who is actually taking care or heading this department. I think she's not right here right now, but then she's probably gonna join very soon. All right. So I'll give you a brief description of some of our ongoing projects. So the first one being, so I'll talk about the energy projects because I'm an energy expert. So load shifting analysis in the power grids. So basically, what happens is that if you talk about various other countries, like for example, when we talk about the US, energy prices are not flat, which means that they don't have to pay 6 rupees per kilowatt hour or 8 rupees per kilowatt hour for whatever amount they use, right? So the prices vary along the day. So there are some hours which are like peak hours. So if you buy electricity at that point of time, probably it's going to cost you around $6 per kilowatt hour. And when you buy it at a normal price time, it's going to cost you like 9 cents per kilowatt hour or something like that, right? So that's how the variation is. So the variation is around 50 to 60 times. Now, how do we stabilize this curve? In order to do that, we can do what is called as optimization of the energy grid. And for doing that, we need to understand the individual components of this energy grid. If we get to understand that, okay, 5% of the electricity is through nuclear, 2% is through gas plants, 4% is through some very costly generation technology, then when the demand is low and the supply has to actually follow the demand to come down. So the curve has to actually go down, right? So that's how the whole system would work. So what we have is we have to basically follow the load, which means that when the electricity demand is high, we have to produce more. When the electricity demand is low, we have to produce less. But when the electricity demand is actually lesser than the average electricity demand, what we can do is that we can use some battery energy storage systems, or probably we can use a very big water reservoir, wherein we can actually pump water back into the hill, and then when it's required, it can actually come flowing down so as to move the generator and then produce electricity. So that's something which can actually be done. Such kind of projects is what we are basically handling. So we'll be optimizing the cost of the electricity over a complete day, over a complete hour, over a complete month, over a complete year. So that sort of things are going to be happening here. Second, economic feasibility of gamma irradiated plants. So people used to think that if you get irradiated, if you eat some food which has gamma radiation passed through that so as to kill the germs, people used to feel that it gets contaminated or it becomes radioactive. But that's not the case. I mean, exactly in the very same way that when you go and bath in the sun, you don't become radioactive, right? You don't start emitting gamma and beta and alpha rays and particles. One second, I just got a message. Yes. Basically, setting up a gamma irradiator is a very complex task. So this is like you initially have to. This is something which relies on what is called as a gamma cobalt 60 source or a gamma source, right? And the source actually continues to decay over time. So the cost of the source for a small amount is going to be somewhere around 5 crores or so, and the total cost of the plant is going to be around 21 crores, right? So exactly, if you see, 25% of the whole cost goes into what is called as the cost of the source. So you have to do what is called as right optimization of the source, so that probably you'll have to run your business in shifts, like 3 shifts a day, 8 hours, 8 hours, 8 hours each, right? So that's what you can do to take the maximum juice out of the very source which you have. So that's the way you have to make it economically feasible. Otherwise, it's going to become what you buy a source for 5 crores, and you end up earning only 2 crores at the end of the year, by the time the source also dies, right? So that's not a profitable business at all. So how to make this business profitable is what I'm going to be or our company is going to be selling. So that's what we are into right now. The third is analysis of electric vehicles in the power grid. So I'll give you a very simple example, right? So when we talked about what is called as analysis of load shifting in the power grid, what we basically understood is that we are doing with what is called as cost optimization, right? So in the very same way, if you look into the batteries or the battery size of a electric vehicle, you see that they are around 100 kilowatt hour, right? So one particular typical battery is around 100 kilowatt hour. So if you have like 5 million batteries moving on the road, it can be a very good case study wherein you can use these batteries to store the energy and then to actually supply back the energy to the grid when during the peak hours when the demand is high, right? So that can be one of the very good ways. So it's like share market trading, right? You buy the stocks when the prices are low, and then you sell off to the market when the prices are high. So that's how I have been designing this system. So electric vehicles are like starting to come in India. So they are basically booming in China, and then even the European market. US is far left behind because of the distances between two cities, basically. So they need to have various stations, like charging stations in the middle, so as to basically make this electric vehicle utility success. When we talk about this development of energy model or a market model, so here I'm talking about, so suppose if you consider what is called as the technology and the generation capacity, and also the cost of generation per kilowatt hour or per megawatt hour, that varies. So for different technologies, the cost of generation is going to vary. So we have to basically think of what should be the right mix for a particular country. Like the technology also might not be costing the very same price for all the countries. Why is that so? That's because, number one, in a particular country, there can be lots and lots of people who would be actually trained in solar, right? So the prices of all the solar technologies are anyway going to come down. Because of the maintenance and operations charge, that's going to come down. Because of the labor, that's going to come down. Secondly, if a country has lots and lots of coal, then the coal prices and it's going to be easier, or it's going to be cost effective rather than buying coal from outside, right? So this country would essentially go for what is called as thermal power plants for the production of the electricity. So exactly in the very same way, if there's a country which has lots and lots of uranium, they will essentially go for what is called as nuclear power plants. But then there's a catch. If there's a country which has lots and lots of uranium, but then, like for example Australia, and but then there is a public sentiment which is exactly against the nuclear power. So they say that okay, no power, because we have seen Fukushima accident, we have seen 3 Mile accident, we have seen what happened at the famous Chernobyl, right? The infamous Chernobyl. So for all those reasons, they might say that we don't require it over here because that's very dangerous, that's contagious. That contaminates the environment and all those things. For such a scenario, I could actually tell them that okay, you start few of the nuclear engineering courses in one of your top institutes in your country, and then later on, as with time, when you reach around 15 years of time in range, you can essentially do is you can start introducing nuclear, right? By that time, people would have understood. You can show them passive advertisements, like for example, how nuclear is good for the society, so society over like 10 years span. So people will not even try to think of what could have actually happened, or probably if it's a kind of conspiracy. So all those things will not come in their brain. Governments have been actually playing such a role as far as the energy thing is concerned. um, so all those things can essentially be captured in this one. So development of energy and market model application. Let's talk about cost optimization. So this we have already done, right? So these two projects actually go hand in hand. Then blockchain technology application. Okay, so let me give you some fact figures. Like for example, number one, when you talk about nuclear, there are some key components, like some key nuclear materials which are like very dangerous. For example, plutonium. There's a fact that less than one gram of plutonium can basically kill around 2 million people or so, because that causes cancer, is what I've been talking to like various other interns and employees who actually joined us, right? So if we continue that fact, 1 gram, so less than 1 gram can actually kill 22 million people, right? So if you consider going ahead with the very same thing, what happens is that suppose there's a terrorist organization which keeps on stealing around 1 gram 2 gram per day, or I mean per month. It won't take more than like 10 years to actually make a bomb. A bomb would require not more than 6 kilograms. So just a 6 kilogram bomb could actually flatten the whole city. Like a city of Delhi could all be flattened up with just a 6 kilogram ball. So it becomes this big ball, less than size of a football, but bigger than a golf ball. So that can actually destroy the whole of Delhi. I mean, right now the maximum capacity which the terrorist organizations have, like what they have been doing right now is just blowing off the buildings, hijacking planes, blowing off planes, putting the planes into the buildings so as to crash both of them. So that's going to be the thing of past. Now in the present scenario, I mean, we can reach a place or a time wherein people can have nuclear weapons. So if you actually go for implementing blockchain technology at the root level, what I mean to say is that if your blockchain application, or if all the transactions which are taking place in a blockchain are the real representation of what is basically happening on the ground. Like for example, if there's a truck flying on the road and there is a weighing bridge, one of the front tires of the truck goes onto that weighing bridge, and it weighs somewhere around 2 tons or so, probably like 20 tons, right? That 20 ton is going to get recorded into as a transaction into the block. Now in the next step, once the time limit ends, the whole transaction, the whole set of transaction is going to be hashed, and it gets stored as a block in the so it becomes immutable. I mean, you cannot just go back in time and change it, right? So if the actual weight which was weighed by that weighing bridge for that truck gets recorded into the block, which means that if the block is actually recording what is the real figure, if the signature that's being recorded is the real signature of what is happening on ground, then what you have is a 100% efficient system wherein you can spot what's happening and where that's happening, right? So that's how the whole story goes. There are other things which my other teammates probably are going to explain you, given we have lots and lots of time. So right now we have been working on what's called as human resource management system. So we are making a very unique HRMS software. So we already have teams working on this one. So probably we have right now around 15 people exactly who are working on various modules. Like, so this is from the ATS, that is applicant tracking system, to actually the retirement of that person. There are so many phases, like the performance management system, like the attendance and the leave management. So all these things are actually being worked upon by the non-data science, but then the IT team, right? Again, for the school management system, again the very same thing. So due to COVID, I mean, most of the school management things have been going online. So people are actually distributing tablets so that people don't I mean, the pupils don't have to actually go and visit their schools in order to study. And so all these things need some kind of management, some kind of IT solution. So we are also into all those things, providing them with all those solutions. So in this company, I'll come to the HIP, that's the Hofars Internship Energy Internship Program at the last stage, right? Let me just take you through some of our key features and also some of our disciplined values and all those things. So we basically have many ties with various institutes, startups. So we actually provide manpower to various MNCs. That's the reason we are bringing in people, and then we can actually promise them of a very good placement assistance. Since we have been working on energy projects and projects which are of real good importance as far as the SDGs and the sustainable development goals and all those things are concerned. Hence, in that way, people actually get impressed by what we're doing, and for that reason, they actually send in their teams. At many times they are into mystery audits, like they'll come and they'll be with the team and then actually observe the candidates and go. So being with us actually gives you a very good chance to get absorbed or observed and then absorbed by the company, right? So observed starting with O and then absorbed starting with A. So that's how the whole system is. Then Hofers also extends its support to the interns to actually participate and apply for such job openings. So as I mentioned, that initially we had this HR module, which was originally motivated, or I mean aligned or intended to basically support what is called as the energy sector. But then with after the COVID, we could actually see that there are many startup companies and even companies like TCS, Blue Shirt in Mumbai and all, who are actually very much interested in hiring people. And then they have actually come to us to actually settle score. I mean, not to settle score, but to actually, ask us to help them in hiring those good candidates. We, on the other hand, told them that we have a unique internship program. You can actually tell us if you require a certain job skill, and we'll ensure that we will train those people on those certain set of skills so that you can take them directly from our, I mean, as they graduate from our internship program, right? Placement program, again we have like good HR managers who can actually train you guys during the internship program itself for your placement training. Like for example, personality development, skill development, and all those things are going to be happening. So Banu probably is going to be taking care of all those things. So all these initiatives are his a brainchild, so he's going to be taking care of all. You guys will have mock interviews and all those things as well. For so suppose if we recommend you to one of the jobs which comes into our job portal, so we will ensure that we give you proper training for that. We'll also give you a set of questions and all those things so that you can perform well and go into it. So anyways, we are also there's a win-win situation, because even we get paid when someone gets placed somewhere, right? So it's a game like that. Hof talk. So yes, so as you can see, I have most of my friends who are into the energy sector, who are into nuclear sector, who are into what is called as places like research organizations, who are actually scientists with various agencies. I have also befriended people who are into non-scientific, into the corporate affairs, into the corporate sector. Like I've been myself working with one of the big fours at a time, and then probably I have people from there as well. So these people would actually come. So as we have what is called as tech TED talk, so that you must have heard of, right? So these people can actually give you a longer, that means around 45 minutes of talk, and then there's going to be a 15-minute session wherein you can actually ask them some very good questions. So that's how the whole system goes from here. So these people will be called every week. So every week, or probably bi-monthly, I mean twice in a month, these people will come and they'll give you a good lecture, and you can actually ask them. So once there can be a person from the nuclear industry, he'll explain you how a nuclear weapon works, like, and how exactly a nuclear bomb kills. So that can be one of the thing. Then the second time, there can be a person from GPS procurement. So I have a friend who has been a procurement officer with various public sector undertakings. So he'll tell you basically how government procurement and all those initiatives actually work, and how has his experience been like throughout the year he has been into such a domain. Similarly, I have some other engineers. I have people from IT. I have people from various other, research organizations who are basically into like things like Tata Labs or so, right? So there is a specialized system of Tata Labs. I mean, group of people who are basically working into futuristic technologies, right? So people from there are also going to come and they'll give you some good lectures. I'll also try in myself to call in some of the university professors from the US, because they are again very good speakers, and then you can learn a lot through them. So we also provide you a chance to actually connect with them, because you see, at the end of everything, what happens is that what matters is that if you have good connections. What do you mean by good connection? Is that, you get your second job probably in India, you get your first job as you come out of the campus, because your IIT, your NIT, or any of your deemed university will land you that job straight in your hand, right? You probably might not get into the best job that's suited for you, because it's always limited by the number of companies and the type of companies which visit campus. There are other companies which do not come to campuses at all, right? So if you intend to get into one of those companies, it's all up to you to actually crack their interview, to go to talk to them and to get into their services. But uh, 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 campuses actually can provide you that. But as far as the second job is concerned, again, you'll have to go and make connections. You'll have to talk to people, network. So networking is the skill which you require to actually live, rich, live always on the elite group. So if you have a very good network, you'll always be rich, that's for sure. If you have a good network, you'll never be poor. You will always have lots and lots of opportunities to actually go ahead with any of those things. So we actually give you opportunity to actually connect with all these people who actually come in for the talks, right? For the Hof talk, as we have named it. So you guys can actually talk to them. You can share your email IDs, exchange numbers and all those things. And probably when they have a job opening, they can actually directly call you. So that's how ideators. Now again, we give opportunities for entrepreneurs. So if you must have gone through the PDF, you must have seen during the last of the project. If you see the last of the project, it says student project 1 or 2. So again, it is all up to those people to actually ideate, come up with a new idea, and then I'm going to be the one, or the Hofars team is going to be the one who is going to provide you with real experts, interns, plus mentor, plus everyone. Even the funding can be arranged so that you can actually work on. So this can actually be called as an incubation center as well. So Hofars Incubation Center is what we would like to name it as, and to start with full enforcement. So we basically advise people to think out of the box. So last day I was telling my IT interns to actually think a lot and program less. What I mean by saying is that there can be two types of people. Number one, who can actually keep thinking all the time and then just program 1 hour a day. So this guy would be thinking 23 hours a day, sleeping, waking up all the time. He's thinking of something or the other, and while he sleeps, or and just for 1 hour a day, he sits on his computer and starts programming. That way, he can actually do what is called as very efficient, competitive programming. The second scenario is, you can have a person wherein that person can actually program 23 hours a day. Everything which comes into his brain, he'll just keep on putting it onto the screen. These people talk a lot, but then they get crumbled, or they get caught in their own words, because they're not thinking what they're saying, right? So in that case, if that's the scenario, they're bound to make mistakes, and then probably there's no way to actually come back to the original or restore that mistake that has happened already. So we always encourage to actually try to think out of the box. It's always good, because I've seen myself in a very bad situation, and then I know that it actually affects the way you think, right? So it's always good and advisable that you actually come out of the box, have an eagle's vision onto what's happening, and then again go back, deep dive, take a dive into the problem, and then try to solve it, right? So that's how. So anyone has any idea, they can actually come, and then we can ensure that we'll also give you a client, so that you can talk directly to the client. This is something which the HR team is going to take care of. So all these things, reliability and consistency. So if you come and you join us, I would like you to guys to be very reliable and consistent. Also be very honest. Commitment is something which you will be, in case you like the job, right? So you'll become very committed to the job if you like it. If you don't, then you will make bahanas and you'll leave, right? Innovative is one thing. So that's why I said you just keep thinking about things, so that when you think, you will get new ideas, and when you get new ideas you can actually change how the world is right now today. So you can actually change this world to be a better place to live in the future, and that's what the main idea is, to make this planet a sustainable thing to live in for the love of the mother earth. So that's what. So these are the documents that's going to be required for the HR processes, as you can see, ID proof and all those things. So again, the HR people will take care of these. So anyways, at the end of the program, I'm going to ask you about. I mean, we are going to be talking about the documents, and if you guys have actually submitted those documents or not. So all right. So IT policies again. So these are some policies like, for example, always protect your files with a password. We are having some third-party data as well. Like I told you that we have direct contacts with some of the US universities. So in that scenario, if you lose some information, nothing bad is going to happen to you. But then, in any such scenario, what's basically going to happen is you would, I mean, feel embarrassed if you lose, and then we'll lose our name in the market as well. So all those kind of things is not required. So please protect your files with the password. You probably need to sign an NDA document, non-disclosure agreement, or something, some sort of thing like that, because of, I mean, depending on the projects you're basically working on. So the internship journey. So basically, this is, I mean, we have two employees as well among the team now today. So for the internship, you'll be beginning in the month of June. So probably this time you're going to be beginning in the mid of June. You'll have like 2 months. So for the first 2 months, you're going to be in what is called as project groups. So in this project group, you'll be working on certain projects. So this time I've onboarded lots and lots of people from data science group as well, and the project is already defined. So you guys are going to be working on what is called as a CSAT development for the first few days, and then we are going to shift you guys to some other product, right? Uh, After that, 5% or probably less than that among you guys will be selected for what is called as core research group. So advisories from the project group itself will come up, and that's going to super impose on all the other things, and hence we'll have few guys who will actually go on to what is called as core research group. People who will be working with the core research group will be basically working in the projects of energy, the ones which I told you. There are other energy projects as well, so we'll discuss that again, I mean, after this one. uh, so you guys will be working as project consultants over here, right? And we'll try our best to give you what is called as 10 to I mean 8 to 10,000 rupees a month for the initial days, and then once you keep on continuing in the same direction with us, we will also change your project depending on the availability, and probably you can get hired with the same very same organization. Even if you guys do not I mean, stick to us, we can always be in contact, and whenever you feel like, we'll always welcome a candidate who has been a part of our team in the earlier during the inception. We will always, favor you over any other new candidate. Yes, for the guys who do not who cannot come into the core research group, what's basically is going to happen is that you can stay with us for a maximum 6 months. Hence, this would be the end of your internship program, and then we cannot let you come back again, because we'll always give a chance to fresh candidates from the market, so that they can also have a chance to come through the project research group and get a chance to work in the core research group as well. So that's how the whole thing will be. So we'll have some assessment month in the middle. So again, we'll be doing some paperwork during the very same time, so that we can assess. So there are other candidates who are actually coming on to their compulsory 6 months training. So you guys are very nicely I mean, put into the system, and guys, be advised that you'll have to maintain a full record of each and everything that you have been doing every day. So ensure that you have a very good record of whatever you're doing, right? So there shouldn't be something which you miss, because you're going to be judged, or you're going to be marked based on the document which you provide. Again, 40% of the marking is going to be based on how you performed throughout the 6 months, but then the last few marks is also going to be based on the records, right? The final breakdown is actually be given by the HR of our team. You can talk to that person. Working hours. So again, guys, as you know, we are suffering from what is called as corona. So I would advise, so I'm not very strict regarding the working times. You can say that we can work from 11 a.m. to around 7 p.m. or so. As far as the project group is concerned, once the project starts, initially we can have some lectures. It's like a class session, but then when the actual project group starts, we can have a daily scrum meeting or so. So for the first week, or for the first sprint, we can have like two meetings, like early in the morning and then late in the evening, so that we know where exactly you are, how exactly your progress is. and then from the next following week onwards, we can just have one meeting in the evening wherein you can actually tell us what have you been working on, what have you completed so far, what's your plan, what exactly are you planning to do for the next day, and then if there are some bottlenecks in the, so it's exactly like an informal meeting in the scrum, right? So essentially we'll be following what is called as the scrum or the agile culture to actually move ahead with the very same thing. Office time can be adjusted, I mean, because most of you guys are in colleges, and also few of you are guys, I mean, guys are in the jobs, so will have to make some adjustments with that. So 5 working days, that's Monday to Friday, right? So we don't disturb or believe in disturbing you on Saturday and Sunday at all. I mean, Friday in the evening, you can actually ask us to have the meeting as early as possible, so that you can just pack your bag and move to Shimla or whatever place you would like to go. So that's how the thing is going to be. If you want to be an absentee for any of the session, you will have to I mean, tell us in advance. So there's going to be a project manager for each and every group. You guys need to talk to that person, you need to convince that person that okay, you need to go. That person is going to be very soft in his conduct, so you don't need to worry. But then if there is an absentee without notice, that's going to be taken seriously, like very seriously. If you do that for 3 times, you're out. I mean, I don't care if you're from compulsory training or so, but I don't care, you're going to be out of the system. uh, Mark all your absentees, mark all your attendance every day. Ensure that you're completing your assignments on time, because you see, we are into a corporate culture here, right? So you are basically transitioning from what was called as a student life into a corporate life. So taking all that into consideration, I'll request you guys to adhere to all the policies, to the everything that's required for the successful completion of this program. Leave again, so I mean, I don't care. If there's a necessity, you can take as many as possible. So this was basically for the employees, right? So for the employees, not for the interns, employees, you can take maximum 2 leaves in a month. And leaves would be accrued from the date of joining on a pro rata basis, which means that it depends on the number of, so 30 days 2 leaves, 60 days 4 leaves, so 15 days only 1 leave. So that's how we you can calculate. So this is how the group team will be working. So there's going to be a mentor, there's going to be leader. So one from among the interns is going to become the leader, and then there's going to be a mentor, and this is how the team is going to work. So this team will be provided with one task that is it's going to be a part of what is called as one of the projects, and that project is going to be taken care of, right? Sorry, I just missed. So it's always a good way, I mean, good thing if you can actually maintain or manage a task sheet. Just a second. Yeah. So it's always good if you can actually maintain a task sheet. So that is, so what do I mean by saying that is that if you can actually divide your week into the number of tasks, like for example, this is week 1. So this is basically a method of how you can actually time manage, right? Because most of you guys can actually would also be going to the classes, having different other things to do. So it's good that you can actually put down all your tasks on this task sheet. So there's a task, you put it down, like in the first 2 days I'll be completing this, and from the second day onwards I'll be working on these 3 tasks, and this is how I intend to complete. If you do that, your life is all sorted. So you won't have that headache of completing at the last moment, right? Because I would really like you guys to enjoy your Saturdays and Sundays. And you see, the other good thing is about life is that it doesn't stop, and life is nothing but a journey through time. When the time goes, life goes. So you guys have to remember that, enjoy, keep enjoying at the right time. There is no good time to enjoy. This is the right time when you have to do everything. So for that, if you take that into consideration, just you know uh, keep enjoying. Make a good time sheet so that you can actually enjoy. Otherwise, it's going to cause stress. Handling so many things ruins things as well. You can have such a weekly planner, so all these things need to be there. So I used to be in India like till 5 years ago, and then I used to have all these issues, of not maintaining a weekly planner or a monthly planner or things like that. But then it used to cause a lot of problems. I went to few of the other countries like Russia, I went to US, I was in Austria, I was in South Africa. So all those places, what I learned is that these people are highly committed to what time they say, right? So when they say 8 p.m., they mean like 1 minute before 8 p.m. So that's how the whole scenario works. If you do that, it's all sorted. If you don't do that, you know you will start losing your contacts. So you'll not be good at networking as well. I mean, you commit that you are going to meet someone at around 8 p.m. and you meet him at 8:15. I mean, that's bad. Today again, you see, we had to wait for some of the VIPs. Do you like waiting for VIPs? No, neither do I. So with all due respect, please respect time. Be on time always. Be when when you commit to be at some point of time or at some place, right? So at the end of the internship, or at the end of your tenure with us, we will actually give you what is called as a SWOT analysis. So since you guys are going to be working with us, so we'll give you where exactly your strengths lies, where exactly your weaknesses are. So this is not only at the end of your tenure, but then also during the tenure we'll be touching on to these key points. We will be ensuring, we'll be going through all these things. We'll ensure that we have a counselor who you can talk to, and then you can not make the same mistakes and then start making new mistakes, right? So making mistakes are again very important, that has to be done. But yeah, if you're repeating the very same mistake, then there's some trouble. So that way you'll not succeed. Make new mistakes, right? Every time you should come to me, I'll be very happy if you come with a new mistake. If you come with the same mistake, like a coach, I mean, an incorrigible person, I mean, that's going to be bad. uh, so opportunities, again, we'll tell you where exactly. So I mean, as all I mean, as a part of our understanding, we can give you all these things. Threats, I mean, yeah, some HR team is going to give you all those things as well. So during the very same timing, I mean, simultaneously, we also have a very good HR team on board it, right? And also a digital marketing team along with the IT team. So these people will actually take you through the logo design, poster making, hackathon, content writing. So it's a win-win situation for both the companies, the company and the individual as well. I mean, content writing, this is nothing but actually it sharpens your personality. You do all these things and you become more confident. Every time you create a new content, every time you make a new logo, every time you make a new poster, you know that you can actually do it. And every time you do it, it's always better than what you have done in the past. So it's everything you do is always a better version of what you have done in the past. So that's how life is. So resignation process, again, the HR, I mean, 30 days before. So for the interns, if it's very serious, if it's like really serious, you guys can tell me and I'll surely let you go. Don't worry about your internship certificates or your experience letters and all those things. I will ensure that I give it to you. Ensure that I'll make sure that you guys get it, no matter what, right? So all you need to do is that to come to me and then talk to me. So sorry for this one. Yes. So any question till this part? So this is only the end of the first part. Probably let me just take you also through the HIP program, that is the Hofars Energy Internship Program, and only then you guys ask me questions, right? So keep your questions with me, with yourself, and then let me just stop sharing my screen now. All right, I'll be sharing a new screen. Yes, Chandrani, if you have an urgency, you may. So that's not at all a problem. But ensure that you actually watch a video later on, or get in touch with other people, because uh, what's the most necessary part is the Hofars Internship Program, right? Because that's what you're a part of. All right, guys. So let's start with the HIP program. So this is our website. So this is where you actually applied for the program, right? Over here, going to the careers. So as you can see, we have the area of expertise put in here, the ongoing projects which we are working on right now. So people who actually go on to the core research group, they'll actually be landing on these projects, right? These are very interesting projects which can actually be done very easily in Python. So that's the reason we actually went on for calling in for all the people who are good at Python. Guys, just hold on for a second. All right. Sorry for that. I actually had to call someone, and then I think he's gonna join us. Okay, guys. I think you can see my screen now. Uh, so let's
Yes.
go through the services. Sorry for the network connection. I mean, it's slower right now. So these are the various services which we provide in these domains. Say in the energy domain, as we have already talked about, so cost optimization, blockchain technology, electric vehicles. So the analysis based on that, irradiation technology, power grid, load shifting, and all those things. Then in the IT, we have this web development, software development, animation, SEO, digital app, HRMS, employee BGV. So this is what I was talking to you about, like in the Verifact system, right? So one platform for verification of everything altogether. So that's what recruitment. Again, I said that we have onboarded so many agencies, and there are so many companies who we recruit for, and so our interns can actually actively take part in those, and we can actually groom them for the very same thing. Compliance and solutions. Again, government compliances, they keep on changing, like new payroll and all those things comes, so we can actually handle those things as well, because we have a full-fledged and a very good team, a very good HR team. Training and development again is a part of the HRMS. Now, customer excellence is something wherein we have another person who is an excellent, Mona Lisa. I think she's joined us as well. So she's going to be taking part of all these. Care of all these things. Mystery shopping and CX audits. These are basically the same thing. So what it means is that we sign in with a company like, for example, Reliance Fresh, or something like a Walmart or something. We go to their shops to shop mysteriously, and then we actually capture all the moments. We pen down like what exactly is the problem that we're facing. So this is a very new concept coming into the market. So we are also into all these things. Business consulting again. So since we have lots and lots of experience handling so many different types of businesses, we have had our business, our own startups many a times. We know what kind of problems people do fall in or go through while going across and doing all those things. So we can give people suggestions, and then make sure ensure that their businesses do run well, offering all these solutions to them, right? uh, let's go back to the final thing. That's the Hofars Internship Program. So yes, now, uh, yeah. So, you basically know the introduction to the company, right? So I mentioned that there were two people, and they actually came together. So it was me and Manu. We actually came together to actually form what is called as the present day Hoppers. We had what is called as Verifact, which was basically an idea, was basically to be converted into a product, but then that couldn't happen just because of this COVID. And then there was another company called as Geo Water, again, that actually merged into what is called as Verifact. I was basically working for another company, that's Rayfield, back in 2013 or so, but then that's something I left, right? So we have even been selling all these things. So we actually raised some funds, and then we actually sold off, and we actually exited the whole market. So all those things have also been done. So basically, our area, or the target area, was carbon abatement, energy system modeling, grid planning, energy cost, mix cost optimization. So all these things we have already spoken about, right? Talked about in the past. So let me just tell you more about this carbon abatement. So suppose there are two different kinds of technologies. Number one, there can be a technology which will cost you less, but then produce more carbon, right? And there can be a technology which will cost more, but then will produce less carbon, like for example solar. So we can have a thermal power plant, and we have a solar solution, or a solar farm, right? So there can be some scenario wherein what's going to happen is that the government, because of the regulation, or probably because of a government signing the Paris Agreement or the deal with some other country, they can actually pressurize these companies to change the technology. So carbon abatement is what kind of finances will be involved if you actually go for some technology which produces less carbon per kilowatt hour, sorry, more carbon per kilowatt hour, to a technology which produces less carbon per kilowatt hour. Essentially, the price has to be different as well. More money for more money for less carbon, and again, less money for more carbon. So all that scenario has to be interchanged. So for that, all the finances that are involved basically is what is called as carbon abatement. So we go and we try with all these things, right? So that's what we are into. Energy system modeling, again, I told you, these are of two kinds. The first one is the technology modeling. The technology modeling basically talks about different technologies and the cost associated. So for every technology, we can say that, if you go on for settling or making what is called as a nuclear power plant, what exactly you'll have to do is that you will have to actually, site. You'll have to go and buy land. Do the siting. Make the ground flat so that you can do set up plant over there, clean all the forest and all those things. That's one cost. Then you have to do all the paperwork again. That again is another thing. Then you have to do with government agreements and all those things again. That will take some money and time. So that's one thing. Then for putting up that plant, again, like for example, a nuclear power plant, setting up a nuclear power plant can cost you around $6 to $7 million. Sorry, $1 billion, not million, but it's $1 billion, right? So three more zeros to a million will make a billion, right? So those many $1 billion are actually put for making just one nuclear power plant, and the total time that is required is around 10 years, probably 6 years if you have lots and lots of money available right at the moment. So but then when you take the money from the market, what essentially happens is that you will have to pay back the interest rate as well, right? So that's called as that is what is called as the cost of capital. So that has to be taken into consideration. Number two is that, there will be what is called as fixed operations and maintenance costs. Like for example, there will be some labor working on that nuclear power plant every month, and the salaries need to be paid. So that comes under the category of fixed O&M cost. Then we have what is called as pen, paper, water, electricity, right? So these vary. If there is more production, more paper probably might be required, or more water might be required. So all those things are variable. So they keep on changing every month. So that's variable O&M cost. All these put together, makes what is will give you a price which will be called as an LCOE, or what is called as a levelized cost of electricity, right? So that's how the whole scenario works. So you put in all the costs together, then you run the power plant for the whole life cycle. I mean, you calculate that basically on the paper, and you understand how much of electricity that's going to produce, and then you ensure. And depending on if you are a public company or a private company, you make sure that, like for example, a public company working in the nuclear energy domain, they know that they will not be making profit at all. So they can actually put their break even at 30 years, but that is the end of their life cycle, right? So they can actually work on no profit no loss basis. But then, as far as a private company is concerned, they will basically have to make profit, right? So they can set their profit or break even at around 5 years, 6 years. So if they set it at around 5 years, maybe the LCOE or the price will be more, right, per kilowatt hour of electricity. If they keep it at 10 years, the price will be less. So that way they'll have to readjust and then ensure that the price which they quote to the in the market are actually competitive as well. So all those kind of modeling before setting up a nuclear power plant, setting up a thermal power plant, or a solar farm, is what is we are going to be dealing with in the energy system modeling. So by the time you actually graduate from this course, and if you happen to be a part of the core research group, I can ensure you that you will be a very good energy system modeler, right? The second aspect is that when you have all the systems, when you have already got all the cost, you can do a different kind of assessment wherein you can see, like for example, there are people putting in solar rooftops every day, right? So there's an increment of around 1000 megawatt per year, as far as the solar rooftops are concerned. Now if that keeps on growing exponentially in the future years, for suppose like 15 years, what essentially is going to happen is that, since these will cost less to the person who is actually putting it onto the rooftop, he will need less electricity that is to be bought from the energy companies. Now if that is the case, then these energy companies will come to a verge of getting shut down, right? So these energy companies won't be able to sustain in the market, because no one is buying electricity from them. Why? Because everyone is having a solar rooftop, right? So for that reason, no one is going to be buying, and if no one is buying, they won't be able to function. And if that's the scenario, they have to be shut down. If they shut down, the regulators won't have any other additional capability of actually giving you electricity. So one day when there is no sun, or one day when there is no wind, because these fluctuate a lot, what's going to happen that day? There's going to be complete blackout, right? To save you from such a scenario, we can actually model the system in such a way that we can actually talk to the government regulators, like, okay, right now you're giving 100% subsidy on the solar, you reduce it by 20% in the next 5 years, and after the next 5 years you reduce it by further 40 more percent. This way what happens is that essentially when you keep on reducing the subsidy, the number of people who are putting rooftop onto their rooftop, I mean solar rooftop onto their rooftop, will decrease as well. And hence you can have a very good balance between the regulators. Regulators always need to have some extra generation capacity handy, so as to take care of all certain, I mean, those contingency scenarios. Grid planning, we have already spoken about all these things. Then we also talked about uh, what is called as we also talked about what is called as human resource services for highly regulated industry and nuclear industries like nuclear and space, right? We also talked about what is called as distributed ledger technology in nuclear safeguards, so as to bolster the IAEA's safeguards initiative, right? So all those things we have been doing. And so they are actually required. So these are the core research areas wherein we guys are going to be working. Okay, let's talk about the number of positions. So basically, around 110 people have actually interned so far with us. If we compare, if we actually take into consideration people who actually joined us for geo water as well, right? So geo water is also being taken into consideration when we talk about that. The project groups mainly are IT for human resources, environmental science group, IT for market research, IT for the energy domain. So these are the initial groups which wherein you guys are getting placed into. So people who are into the latest, that is data science group, are into IT for market research because they are making a CSAT software for us. Hence, they are into IT for market research. This project group will work for at least 2 months now, and then either they'll be shifted into another project group. Maybe they'll get a new project in IT for market research, or probably they'll be shifted into some other project group, like for example IT for human resources. Other people, like 5% or less, will be shifted to what is called as core research group. The core research group has these projects, right? So design and development of technology model, development of analysis of the impact of EVs on the power grid. Okay, let's talk about this one. So you know that a normal EV has something called as a battery, which is around 100 kilowatt hour in capacity. The total generation capacity of a country like Bhutan, or probably, okay, you take a country like India, because we have a growing trend and people like to have a four-wheeler, right? And by the next 15 years, we can say that nearly 50 to 60% of all the vehicle market will be captured by the by the EVs. There is a research which I have conducted along with one of my research groups, and we had a finding that it's growing exponentially. Right now, it doubles every year. So if 2.5 million last year, now it's going to be 5 million. Next time it's going to be 10 million. So it's growing with that velocity in a particular direction. So if this continues to happen, what essentially would happen is, so let's consider a scenario to understand that if you have water connection in your house and you know that water is available for all 24 hours a day, do you keep a water storage tank overhead? No, you don't, right? And why do you not do that? Because a water storage, because whenever you try to open the tap, you will get water, right? So there is no need basically to actually spend more on keeping a tank overhead. But then if you know that for a particular city like Delhi, if you know that water is available only for around 5 to 6 hours, or probably like 1 to 2 hours, what exactly will you be doing? Or essentially you'll be doing is buying a big Syntex, you know, a water tank, put it overhead, and then store water in those 2 hours, or in those 1 hours, which is available for water, right? So you're gonna do exactly that. Similar thing is gonna happen for the EVs as well. Like for example, if you consider a scenario wherein the EVs are so, they are in so big quantity that they can actually take all the available generation capacity from the source, and they charge themselves, right? So there is going to be no electricity left for the households, right? So in such a scenario, what people will start doing is they'll start buying big batteries to save electricity, so that they can actually supply them. Like what used to happen in the past, when you have all the inverters and the batteries, right? The same thing is going to come back this time, not because there is scarcity of electricity, but because there is plenty of what is called as EVs in the market. So all these kind of assessment are excellent assessment which we can do, and we can actually open eyes of various agencies which are working in this direction, right? So that concrete initial steps can be taken, so as to bring down the effect of such negative scenarios. Analysis of the load shifting technique in the power grid again. So we can do this analysis in two ways. Number one, using the very same battery energy storage system for the from the EVs, because we know that they have around 100 kilowatt hour. So a person can do what is they can he can buy he or she can buy what is called as a V2G or E2G or G2V kit. So a V2G is vehicle to grid. So he can put the vehicle in the power grid. He can actually plug it in the power grid, and when the price of the electricity is low, the vehicle will charge, and when the price of electricity rises to a higher level, the vehicle will discharge to the power grid, thereby earning the vehicle owner some credits, right? And you may ask me what's going to happen to the battery life. So experimentally it has been found that it doesn't get affected. You can also set values like, okay, how much percentage of electricity do you want to get drained out of your vehicle at every moment. So like for example, if you set that you need at least 40% of battery in your system, then you can actually set it to 40%. And in that scenario, the battery will never come down below 40, but then the vehicle will charge to 90 and then discharge to 40 when during the peak hours to earn you some more money, right? That way you can actually basically drive it free of cost as well. So all those calculations can again be taken into consideration. Carbon abatement is the very same thing which we discussed initially. Hydrogen as a fuel. So I have a person from Belarus who is working with us on this one. So basically this is a concept wherein we can use process heat from a nuclear power plant, basically a small modular reactor which can work at a temperature of around 850 degrees centigrade, and then that temperature, that heat is going to be used to break water into hydrogen and oxygen, very easily, because this heat comes free of cost. So hydrogen production won't take much. I mean, that's not going to be costly. That's going to be cost effective. That's how the whole thing will be. So we have talked about this one as well. Then we can basically use this blockchain technology in the supply chain management. So that can be one of the case studies. Decarbonization techniques, like for example, what should we go for? Should we go for a nuclear power plant for decarbonization? Should we go for a solar farm? Should we go for a wind farm? All depends on the availability in your scenario. All depends on the country you are in. All depends on various other things, right? So all those things can be actually modeled. So you can basically design a tool which can take into consideration all these various factors and give a solution, an appropriate solution for the very same thing. Cost optimization of the energy mix, again we have discussed this. Weather modeling and prediction is also very good thing. So I'm basically associated with what is called as Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organization, right? So India conducted nuclear blast in the year 1998, right? So this group was actually made, the CTBTO group was actually made. So it's non-ratified right now. India did not ratify it, and it is not enforced so far. So this group basically does what it essentially came into picture, or was formed to actually pressurize countries like India, Israel, Pakistan, North Korea to not explode weapons. So they have sets of hydroacoustic signal absorbers, or they have what is called as seismic underground detectors and all those things. So they have a network of all these things all across. So we can actually talk to these people. They can be onboarded. We can actually go and visit Vienna. We can go and visit their headquarters, like the interns and the employees as well. So we are basically in talks with these people as well. Okay, so let's talk about the remuneration. So which is the most important part here as it seems. So right now the internship is unpaid, which means that we are not paying you anything for the first 2 months during the time when you are a part of the the project group, right? But then 10 people would receive a monthly stipend of 8,000 per month from the third month, which means that once you guys, like 5% or less among you, will be actually shifted to what is called as core research group. I mean, the best among you will be actually shifted to what is called as the core research group. They have what is called as a stipend of around 8,000 per month, but then we will make it 10,000 per month, because we are in advanced level of talks with Tata Labs and other agencies as well. So they are actually putting in the money, and they'll be funding us for these initiatives. So from third month, they'll be. So the selection will be based on internal regular evaluation by the project team. So the project team, wherein even you guys will be a part of that team. One of you can be a project leader as well for that team. Will actually be a part of the whole decision making process, right? Uh, Rest, as I had mentioned to you, that after the third month, when you start getting the stipend, you'll become will be hired as what is called as a project consultant, and then later on it basically gets into hiring you as a permanent staff, right? it all depends on the project availability as well, guys. So we ensure we are trying our best to ensure that whatever project we have. So most of the projects right now which we have is through the academia, which are excellent R&D projects, right? Which can ensure you or develop your personality to a level that you guys can actually go out into the market and explain to those people that we have done such and such things, and then you become highly employable. So that's how it is so far. But during the very same time, we are trying our best to ensure that you guys stick to us and you guys are with us for always, right? So which means that you get absorbed into the, it all depends on the project availability. We'll ensure that, or we are trying our best to ensure that the project continues. The other thing is that we have also an IT team, right? So they are a digital marketing team as well. So the digital marketing team are also, apart from working on the brand promotion, from the promotion of this HIP or HEIP, they're also working on what is called as selling of the IT products, which we have been working on. So initially, we have also earlier made what is called as a human resource system. We have also created what is called a school management system, and they are actually being sold. So once we get some money from that, again, that the very same money is also going to get utilized to increase the number of candidates who can get a stipend from 10 to more than 10, right? So that's how the whole thing would work. Rules and regulation, we have already discussed all these things, right? So for the interns, we're not that strict, but again, if you go without any kind of prior notice for more than 3 days, I mean, you better think that you're out of the team straight away. I mean, unless and until there is a serious issue. I mean, we do understand. Then I have been suffering from COVID as well myself in the past, and then I know how it feels. And then the whole family was affected by the very same thing. Everyone started suffering from COVID, so I do understand that we are actually traversing through such a time where everything is like very uncertain, right? So we will understand, but then please do try to tell us initially, even if you're not telling us. I mean, because health is always more important than any other thing, so that's okay. Not at all a big concern. uh, so after the completion, you'll have to submit everything, like all the electronics. So if you take laptops and all those things from us, so that you'll have to return it back to the organization. All the files and everything has to be our property. The things, the projects which you have worked on will have your name, but then again, it will actually belong to us. For every project, we ask, or we encourage people to make two reports. Number one is a report which actually gives you what's happening in the group, which means it's a common report for the group, right? Everyone is following that. And second is your own personal report. I would advise and also encourage you to keep everything, to jot down each and everything, each and every development which you are making, right? Each and every change that you're making or causing anywhere in your program, in your code, in your research, in your policy, wherever. But I would I mean, encourage you guys to actually record each and everything. Attendance is 100% necessary, right? So please bring it to the reporting manager. So this has come lots and lots of time, because that's very necessary, right? And mind it, guys, you guys tend to miss things when you are absent, right? So because I've been leading 2 to 3 more teams in the past, and then I could see that if you miss like one or two uh, classes or sessions, you miss a lot, and it becomes really difficult for you then to understand. And then you see what is essentially happening is that if there is a total strength of around 10 people in a project, what basically happens is that 5 people from that project will actually make a different WhatsApp group. I've seen that happening. I do not want to allow anyone to do that, but then I've seen that happening. And why do they actually do that? That's because 2 to 3 people of that project group will be very inefficient. I mean, they'll not be contributing in any way, and on top of that, they'll be taking leaves, lots and lots of leaves. Don't do that. I mean, it's a project activity, right? This internship is basically a project internship. And guys who are employees with us, don't do that ever, right? You guys, I would not like to see anyone who actually does I mean, take leaves without notice. So these are some of the projects, and these are so these are also, again, I mean, it's indicative, so these can change as well, right? So I mean, the team right now over here is actually working on this market research. We are making a survey software. Guys, you have to do this in Python itself. So Python for data analytics. So this is what you're basically using. The other team, the HR and all, okay. So the remuneration part for the first team, that is the IT team, was covered. Let me talk to you about the HR team as well. So guys, We have a tenure of you guys with us that is 70 and 30%. So 70% of all the recruitments that you guys are doing are for a third party partner who is a partner with us. So with every hiring that you're doing, you're earning an incentive for us. And you guys should remember and should put this in mind, that those incentives are far more than the stipend that you can ever get over here, right? So in that scenario, you have to be very, you should be very understanding, and you should be uh, very cool in the fact that you guys will be earning a lot. Lot better than what these IT people are going to be getting, right? So that's how the scenario is with you. Same is with the digital marketing team as well, right? So people who are into the sales, people who are into selling a particular software, people who are into core market research group, that is people who are actually trained for a particular software. You people do not have to worry at all. It's basically a partnership with us, right? So you're not getting a stipend, but then the incentives are so high that you will never even feel like getting a stipend. So that's for the HR team and for the digital marketing team. For the IT team, you guys you get these good projects to work on, and then you get, if you get into the core research group, you get 8 to 10,000 rupees as a stipend as well. And then we give you placement assistance, and then career long connection with us. So that's again few things which you get. Internship award certificate. So after the end of the internship program, so minimum what we require you guys is for like 2 months, and maximum is for 6 months. So guys who are here for 2 months, I would always advise that you guys stay with us for like 6 months, because the actual cream of work will start when you join the core research group. That's when you will start enjoying, right? So ensure that you guys stay with us for around 6 months. Those who actually cannot for some reason stay with us for that long, I understand. No issues, right? Again, you'll be given your certificate. You don't have to worry about that. uh, Inquiries about the application and the internship program can be actually done at you see info@hofars.com, right? And you can actually send an email. So right now, by now, you guys all do all have someone or the else's number, right? So mostly people who I have actually interviewed do have my number, or Akriti ma'am's number, or Bhanu's number, or Surat's number. So someone or the other's number you guys have, right? So you can always be in touch. There are student project idea 1 and 2. So if you guys have some idea which is out of the box, so something which you guys can like uh, think of and tell us about, then we can actually make a team for you. We can actually prepare a set of people who can act as mentors as well, right? So all those things can also be done. uh, so that's all for this session.